Hey everyone, I'm sure today's topic is close to every musician's heart. Getting that perfect sound. You know how it goes. You pour your heart and soul into crafting your latest track, hours upon hours composing, tweaking, and recording each individual part until it's just right. Then comes the mixing phase, where you spend even more time trying to make sure everything is balanced and sounding just the way you want it. Maybe you even decide to send it off to a professional to mix and master. But even after all that hard work, something still seems off. You're just not getting that wow factor you were hoping for. And let's be real, that feeling can be super frustrating. I've been there 1,000 times and it's like one is missing a piece of a puzzle, but you have no idea what it is. Today, we're going to explore some of the common reasons why this happens and what you can do to avoid it in the future. And if this is your first time around, welcome to the channel. Whether you're a seasoned producer or just getting started, I've got tips, tricks, and insights that will help you take your music to the next level. From composition to mixing and mastering to gear reviews and plugin comparisons. I'm Fernandos from thatpromix.com. Music producer and mixing and mastering engineer. So if you're interested in learning more about these topics, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, so let's start right away with a common myth in the music production world. The idea that having the best gear or instruments is the key to achieving a great sound. I'm sure you've thought of yourself, if I only had that expensive microphone, my voice would sound amazing. Or maybe something like, once I save up enough money to buy that high-end guitar, my recordings will finally be perfect. But here's the thing, friends. That kind of thinking can be really dangerous. It's easy to get caught up in the gear game and think that better equipment automatically means better music. But the reality is, the reason our music sometimes falls short of professional productions is not due to the lack of top-of-the-line gear. So, what's the real culprit? Well, if I had to choose one reason why our songs may not sound polished, it would be arrangement. And of course, there are some other reasons we'll dive into, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to how we structure our music, how we balance each element, and how we bring it all together. Let me explain. When we're composing a song, it's easy to get carried away with adding more and more elements. We might think, oh, this guitar's riff sounds amazing, it sounds great, let's add another one on top of it. Or, I need a synth here. And maybe some horns over there. But before we know it, we've got a cluttered mess on our hands. And let me tell you, no amount of mixing and mastering can fix that. It's important to remember that there's only so much we can do with the tools and skills we have. One of the most valuable tips I've come across for improving arrangement is thinking about the song in 2 dimensions. This means considering not only when instruments come in and out, but also the pitch of the sound. It's all about finding that balance and making sure each element has its own space to shine. Let's say you're working on a song with a lot of instrumentation, including drum, bass, guitar, and keys. You want each element to have its own moment in the spotlight, but you're struggling to find the right balance. When faced with this situation where some instruments are not distinguishable, there are a few different approaches you can take to improve the overall sound of the mix. But, and here's the key to all of this, we are going to take care of this before we even start the mixing process. We are going to think like we are mixing already when we are arranging and recording the parts of a song. One option is to play with the range of the instrument. Sometimes simply adjusting the pitch of an instrument can make it stand out more in the mix. For example, if you have 2 instruments that are similar in sound and pitch, you could try raising or lowering the pitch of one of the instruments to create more separation between the two. Another simple yet very effective approach is to remove some of the instruments. If you have too many elements competing for the same space in the mix, it can be very difficult for any one instrument to stand out. Here's where the less is more approach literally comes to life. By removing some of the elements that are not essential to the song, you can create more space for the remaining instruments to shine. For instance, if you have a part with multiple sustained instruments like strings and organs, you might consider remove one of them to make the other element more prominent. A third option is to place the instruments in different parts of the phrase. By creating a kind of a call and response conversation between the instruments, you can make them more distinct and interesting to listen to. For example, you could have one instrument play a melody and then have another instrument respond with a complementary melody or rhythm. This technique can be particularly effective with instruments like horns, strings, or synths, which can create a lot of texture and depth in the mix. There are many different techniques you can use to make instruments more distinguishable, and this often requires some experimentation to find the right approach for a particular song or arrangement. By playing with pitch, removing unnecessary elements, and creating interesting interactions between instruments, you can create a mix that sounds dynamic and engaging. One golden rule I follow when arranging and recording my parts is that a production should already sound pretty good before starting the mixing process. Instruments should be easily recognizable and there should be no conflicts between them. And here I want to touch on another very important topic, which is sound selection. Many times we spend hours working on a specific sound in the mix, especially with percussion or programmed drums. Most of the time, it's better to change the sound than to spend hours just trying to fix the unfixable. One way I use a lot is with Native Instruments Machine, where I can swap sounds while the sound is still playing. I know you can do the same in many other programs, so search for a sample swap function inside your DAW. Anyway, using this feature, I can preview all the samples live and always reach that aha moment where specific sounds click and it's in complete harmony with the rest of the sounds. And this harmony is what we should aim for. Remember, all before touching an EQ or a compressor. Basically, when it comes to composing music, it's important not to rely too heavily on the mixing process to fix any issues. While mixing can certainly enhance and improve a piece of music, it's not a magic fix-all solution that can turn a poorly composed track into a masterpiece. If you want your music to truly shine, you need to take care during the composition process to make sure that everything sounds good from the start. This means paying attention to things like melody, harmony, rhythm, and structure, and making sure that each element works together seamlessly to create a cohesive and engaging piece of music. Of course, mixing is still an important part of the music making process, and there's no shame in needing to tweak things during that stage. However, by taking special care during composition, you'll give yourself a solid foundation to work from and minimize the amount of fixing that needs to be done later on. And what about you? What other techniques do you use before mixing to create separation between instruments? I'm sure you all have also great ideas to contribute to this video, so leave your comments below. I'm all ears. Alright folks, see you around.